Grace and peace. Welcome to Judah's Roar Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative YouTube channel. I'm your host, Apostle Cheryl. Listen, before we get started, I'm going to give you a few seconds to check down here right below the video. Make sure you click on that subscribe button and then click the bell for notifications. We upload a new video every Sunday evening at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we thank you for taking a few minutes to do that, okay? Also in the description box, you'll find other ways that you can partner with us in our quest to end domestic violence. So this week, we're going to be talking about toxic positivity. Did you know that that was really a thing? Toxic positivity. We're going to talk about it and why it's detrimental. Okay, and then at the end of the video, I have a confession to make. You know, the Bible says that confession is good for the soul. I have a confession to make. Okay, stay tuned to hear my confession. All right, toxic positivity, and I'll be referring to my notes because there are several points that I want to make sure that I actually don't forget to make in this video. So, toxic positivity, by definition, is the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, happy, optimistic mindset or outlook across all situations, no matter what is occurring in life. Okay, so again, by definition, toxic positivity is the excessive and ineffective, don't forget those two words, overgeneralization of a happy, joy mindset or viewpoint across all situations that we encounter in life. Now, here's the problem. It results in a denial, minimization, and complete invalidation of our authentic human experience. Let me say that another way. When we engage in toxic positivity, it is denying or minimizing the impact of or totally invalidating what we are actually feeling and experiencing in life. This is a problem. Okay? Its overuse is counterproductive. Why do I say that? It's counterproductive because what it does is it often leads to the very outcome that we're trying to avoid in the first place. The very thing that we're trying to avoid, the very thing that we're trying to impact, it leads us into it because we're not prepared to deal with the reality of what we've experienced, okay? Now, listen, beloved, in all areas of life, in all areas, physically, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, balance is key to us as human beings. If we're going to live a productive, happy life, then we must have balance, right? In all of these different areas of our life. And toxic positivity throws that balance completely off. What does it look like? What does toxic positivity look like when it manifests, when it presents, when it's being practiced in our day-to-day lives? We're going to look at a few examples. So, one of the ways that toxic positivity can manifest in our lives is when we are hiding our true feelings. Something catastrophic can occur. Someone can experience a loss, or maybe someone shares that they are experiencing domestic violence or domestic abuse, or they're ensnared in a toxic relationship. And the response that they often encounter is, oh, but it'll be better. Just give it time. When in fact, we're thinking, maybe you better get out of that. Okay. So toxic positivity can manifest when we are hiding our true feelings. Now, here's the clincher. Sometimes we're hiding our true feelings even from ourselves. Another way that it can manifest is trying to just keep it moving, no matter what, by suppressing or dismissing our emotions. Now, an example of that is after experiencing maltreatment, not acknowledging even to ourselves how hurt and disappointed we are in the person who has treated us badly. Okay, so suppressing our feelings and not acknowledging how much we've been impacted, okay, is another way that toxic positivity can manifest in our lives. Another way is feeling guilty because of what we feel. So if we have a negative reaction to being maltreated, and we do acknowledge to ourselves that we have these feelings that have been defined in our culture as negative, that's a whole nother video, okay? Then when we lambast ourselves, when we are harsh with ourselves because of what we're feeling, what are you talking about, Apostle? Okay, listen. Let's just say we've been maltreated. We have negative feelings that are arguably negative towards the person who has mistreated us. Okay. So another way that toxic positivity can manifest is by lambasting ourselves and being harsh with ourselves regarding how we feel. So we acknowledge that we feel anger. We acknowledge that we feel disgust or angst or whatever, but then we beat ourselves up because we feel it. That's another way that toxic positivity can manifest in our lives. Okay. Here's another way: failing to validate someone else's feelings by telling them how they should feel. An example of that would be, after listening, right? It could be words, or don't feel that way. Don't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. Okay. So when we try to tell someone else how they should feel, or when we're told how we should feel when we've shared something that was important to us, that is another manifestation of toxic positivity. Here's another one: launching into cliches and phrases that look really great on t-shirts and bumper stickers, and catchy phrases when someone shares their experience. Okay, so in terms of domestic violence, you share that you're being mistreated, you share that you've been cursed at, or that you've been stalked, that there's cyber stalking, that you've been experiencing physical assault or sexual assault in your relationship, and you're met with, just pray, let go and let God, uh, stand by your person. Um, It'll get better. All relationships experience turbulence in the beginning or the middle. Okay. Don't worry, be happy. Some of these things are actually songs, right? Don't worry, be happy. Look up and live. Let go and let God. Okay. Here's another one: dismissing whatever is troubling you with, it is what it is. Now, this mindset is particularly disturbing to me. It is what it is. And certainly there are times when this is an appropriate response. But oftentimes what it does is it sets the stage for us to become completely inactive and detached and uninvolved in gaining our own freedom and gaining our own autonomy, or reclaiming our voice and our place um, within our family, just even internally. So it is what it is often a precursor to a hands-off victim stance, which frankly makes my eye twitch. Okay, let's talk about suppressing emotions. Suppressing emotions, squashing them. In psychology and counseling, we call suppressing emotions stuffing emotions, right? These emotions come to the top and we push them down and we push them down and we push them down. Okay. In the short term, denying how we actually feel about an experience appears to solve a problem, right? I mean, it's politically correct. You're not having an outburst or a tantrum or anything. You don't appear to be losing control in front of anyone. And so it appears to solve a problem. And the intention is usually to prevent a bad or unpalatable situation from getting worse in the short term. And on the surface, that's a very noble aim, but it's often a high and lofty goal, okay? We could be responding to feelings of shame or embarrassment about how we actually feel. Okay. An example of this might be jealousy of a close friend or sibling. If you're in ministry or you're a CEO in business, jealousy of someone who's in a similar position, a jealousy of the accolades that they receive from others or of the progress that they appear to have made. Um, and to you, it may seem with less effort, right? Uh, it appears sometimes that some people just have things handed to them. So it's you may be experiencing jealousy or frustration or angst regarding that. So shame for secretly wishing ill of an abuser. Okay. So on the surface, you're this nice, wonderful, warm, and fluffy person. This abusive individual has treated you horribly, and you are ashamed of the fact that you would secretly like to see them, oh, I don't know, hit by a bus or something. I don't know. Whatever it is you're thinking. Okay. There could be embarrassment regarding what you have accepted from the abuser. So oftentimes, victims um, are really hard on themselves for enduring what they've endured, for taking it, for what appears to them to be accepting it, co-signing it. And so there could be some embarrassment and frustration around that. And it's possible that we can suppress those feelings, push those feelings down. So these are all examples of how emotions can be suppressed and what the catalyst could be for that. Now, here's the problem with the over the top rose colored glasses scenario. And for those of you who consider yourself spiritual or religious, whatever term you're more comfortable with, for those of you who classify yourself as religious or non religious and spiritual, I'm not saying that you should not place confidence in your higher power. I love the Lord with all my heart. I would be absolutely nothing without him. I'm not confused about that at all. And I rely on him every single moment of every single day. Certainly, I would have made it this far without his protection and his guidance and his loving kindness and his tender mercies. Okay. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have confidence in your higher power. What I am saying is your higher power, if they're who you think they are, whoever it is at your house, should be able to help you navigate what's actually occurring and not the watered down, sugar coated, fairy dust sprinkled across the top of it, minimization that accompanies toxic positivity. God does not need us to do that in order to address our actual situation. As a matter of fact, he preferred that we present the actual situation to him. Okay. The Bible says that we can cast all of our cares upon him because he cares for us, not modify them and then cast them. Okay. So, all right. When we suppress or stuff our feelings, we may appear to be unbothered to the world, unbothered, stoic, resilient, right? These are all good positive things. But internally, we are erupting. Internally, there is turmoil. Okay. When we suppress our feelings and put on a happy face excessively, we're denying our truth. And the truth is that sometimes, excuse the vernacular, sometimes life just sucks. Okay. It just does. That's right. I said it. Sometimes life is brutal and sometimes it feels crazily unfair, right? Sometimes it feels like injustice is reigning. And sometimes it just feels like you're out there on this limb and you can hear this sawing sound, right? Where the limb is getting sawed off behind you. Suppressing these feelings, though, not being able to acknowledge these feelings, um, can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety, and it can lead to thoughts of suicide. It can lead to thoughts of suicide, okay? I have two examples from my own life that I doubt that I will ever forget because they were just that impactful. And these are things that I experienced before I even became a mental health professional, before I even knew I was an apostle in the Lord's church, right? before I had any ministry leadership positions or anything like that. But there are two examples that I can think of from my life that have impacted me throughout my life because I've never ever forgotten them. Number one, here's my first example. When I was a little girl, one of my mother's closest friends and fellow church chorus members, um, her name was Elaine. She would pick us up for chorus rehearsal and choir rehearsal because my mother had rehearsal and they rehearsed every week. And she would pick my mother up for rehearsal and we would go along with her. Um, and I remember we called her Auntie Lane. And so when I was a child, everybody in the chorus was like a surrogate parent. If they were a male, they were a surrogate dad. If they were a woman, they were a surrogate mother. And what they said went just like your own mama. Okay, so whatever they said. And so it was a close knit thing. And her name was Elaine. And I remember, these are my memories around Elaine. She was absolutely gorgeous. She was gorgeous. She was always dressed impeccably. She always smelled really good and never had a hair out of place. She was absolutely beautiful. And she was very, very sweet and very, very happy, bubbly, always positive, always had this big, gorgeous smile on her face. She was always happy and upbeat, okay? And I remember thinking one day, because our household was becoming increasingly toxic due to things that my dad was doing. Um, I remember sitting in the back seat of her car and listening to her talk to my mom because, children were supposed to be seen and not heard. So you certainly didn't say anything. But because you couldn't say anything, you really didn't miss anything because all you could do was listen. But I remember them talking and I remember how upbeat and happy and positive she was. And I thought about how things were at our house. And I wondered, and I think I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. I remember wondering, is it possible to be that happy? She's always happy. And it was just like a fleeting thought in a small child's mind. And, we went on to rehearsal and that was that. And then a while later, I remember my mother getting a call that Aunt Elaine had transitioned, that she had passed away. Because the expectation was that children would be seen and not heard. The conversation that the adults had let me know that Aunt Elaine had completed suicide. And everyone was devastated by this because this choice that she made seemed to run completely counter to how she presented to the world. And so I learned from that as a small child that the fact that someone is smiling and appears to be upbeat and happy doesn't mean that they're happy. They could be profoundly sad. So that's one example. Fast forward 20 years. Now, at this point, I've joined the military. I've completed officers training school. I've been given a command of the largest unit on the base that I was assigned to in Florida. And this was a pivotal assignment for me because I was an African American female. Didn't have many African American females at that time that had command positions. I remember this assignment because it was so incredibly rewarding in so many ways, but there were only like 7 or 8 females in our unit, and I was one of them. And so all the rest were males. Um, and I remember I was shocked, dismayed, and devastated to get a call from the security police on base that one of my troops had completed suicide. Now, what's so impactful about this is that I had just seen him I believe he completed suicide over the weekend, but I just seen him. I just passed him in the squadron on the Friday prior. And he was supposed to be going on leave. I had approved his leave, and so he was going on leave. And he was upbeat and happy. And I asked him, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he saluted me. I returned the salute, and he said, "Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon." Um, and we went our separate ways. And then every memory that I have of him in the squadron, in the unit, he was upbeat and positive. Um, those of you who may be watching this that were assigned with me will remember this. And we were just shocked that he completed suicide. And I remember racking my brain. What did we miss? What did we miss? What did we miss? But I didn't have a memory of him ever being anything other than happy and upbeat. So what I know now as a mental health professional, what I've learned since then, is that you absolutely can't assume that people are happy because they present as happy. And so, one of the things that toxic positivity does is it will isolate you and cut you off from help because people have no idea what you're actually feeling. They have no idea what you're actually feeling. Okay. So, it's so important that we're able to be honest about what we're feeling. Listen, beloved, if you are having thoughts of self harm or thoughts of ending your life, I want you to understand that there's help out here for you. And I want you to reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is 1 800 273 8255. Again, that number is 1 800 273 8255. And if you are a veteran, then press 1 when you're prompted to do so. Okay? It's imperative that if we're going to be healthy, that we move these disturbing, hurtful feelings that we may have to outside of our physical body. For me, kickboxing and hiking and music have been lifesavers. They've helped me to speak my truth in love, as I'm admonished to do by the Bible, but also to speak my truth appropriately without inflicting pain on others. And so, again, physical exercise for me, it's kickboxing and long, challenging hikes. Help to clear my mind and help me to have a healthy thought process. So, again, if you're considering self harm, if you have attempted self harm, if you have a plan to end your life, to end your pain, then I want you to know that there's help out there. And again, it's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1 800 273 8255. And if you're a veteran, click 1 when you're prompted to do so. And if you find yourself in a position where you're the one that's being, exercising toxic positivity, here's a question. Here's a homework assignment from me to you. And you can inbox me when you finish the assignment. What is it that you're trying to avoid? Or what is it that you're trying to prevent? If you were to actually accept how devastating, how ugly, how awful, how unfair your experience is, what would happen? What are you concerned that you might do if you just embrace the truth and if you just speak your truth? Okay, so it's important to know why we do whatever it is that we do, beloved. So I've shared those 2 examples. And it's imperative, if we're going to be healthy, that we find and utilize a healthy way to identify and verbalize and to express what we are actually feeling to somebody. We have to be able to tell the truth somewhere. If not, it will surface later. Okay? Now, that confession I said I had to make. While I am a person of faith, and one of the spiritual gifts that I have is the gift of faith, and I believe God, and He's delivered me out of situations that I look back and it still looks like I should be stuck in them. And I know that He got me out. And I know that a large part of that was that I believed and trusted and expected that He would get me out. But here's the thing, I believed and trusted and expected for Him to deliver me out of the actual situation, not the watered down, sugar coated version. Okay. So we've got to present God with the truth so that we can walk free. Here's my confession, I don't have a coping skill, and I'm a therapist, but I lack a coping skill for toxic positivity. It works my the very last nerve. I can't take it. I cannot. Can't do it. Makes my eye twitch. I can't do it. Frustrates me. I cannot be around it because it's so counterproductive and it's a setup for failure in the end. One of my dearest friends a few years ago, I experienced something that was completely devastating. And I shared it with him. And before he could say anything, this is what I said to him. Please, 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 whatever you do, whatever you say, please don't open your mouth and allow a cliche or a well-placed scripture to fall out of your mouth. Please don't, because I will hang up this phone. That's my confession. I said it and I meant it. And years later, looking back, I still mean it. I still mean it. It was not going to be helpful. And it's like, I want to be able to share with you, okay? But I can't. If you're going to do the cliche, I want to be able to share with you as my friend, but I cannot. If you're going to resort to cliches, and this is what I told him, listen, if you have no idea what to say, it is okay to say, you know what? I don't even know what to say. That's fine. That's fine. What I can't do is a bumper sticker quote. Okay, so that's my confession. The apostle has no coping skill for toxic positivity. Come on now. I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not, y'all gonna leave me out here by myself. I know I'm not the only one. All right. Have you ever been around someone who is just dripping with sugary, sweet, rose colored glasses, philosophy, and everything is fine? I mean, all of the time, no matter what catastrophe has just taken place, they don't even acknowledge that a catastrophe has occurred. They go straight to cotton candy, platitudes. Okay? Answer this. Answer this. Are you comfortable sharing with that person your deepest, authentic emotions? Are you comfortable telling them everything without editing your thoughts? What this person, or we, if we are this person, what this person is doing, even if it's us, right, is broadcasting, I don't want to hear any bad news. Only positive, happy, celebratory news is welcome here. Something to think about. The person who functions this way, who practices toxic positivity, may have the best of intentions, and often they do, but they have inadvertently become a roadblock instead of a resource. Here's the question. Is that you? When I encounter someone as a clinician, as an apostle in the Lord's church, who practices toxic positivity, from a clinical standpoint, I understand immediately that I'm in the presence of someone who is most likely very fearful and out of touch with even their own emotions, so much so that they can't acknowledge or validate the emotions of others, those emotions that they perceive as negative. Again, for those of you who are spiritual or religious, however you view it, understand that your God, whoever He is, whoever they are, should be able to manage the facts, the actual experience, without it being modified, without it being made politically correct, in all of its ugliness. You should be able to present that, okay? And they should be able to handle it. What is it that I want you to know? Toxic positivity is counterproductive and it's annoying. So if you're doing it, purpose in your heart to cut it out, do the hard work of figuring out why you do it in the first place, and understand that it annoys people and they're just too nice to tell you. This is Apostle Cheryl with Judas Roar Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us on today. Don't forget to subscribe if you've not done so already. You be safe out there. Blessings to you.